Keith Nitkin. I'm proud to be the Battleship Operations Manager here at Nauticus on board Battleship Wisconsin. And I want to thank you for joining me today on this Whiskey Wednesday virtual adventure. A couple of weeks ago, I guess it was, we got a request for a day in the life of a quartermaster since I actually served aboard Battleship Wisconsin. And talking with the team, we thought it would be a pretty good idea to do that. So we're going to run you through what day looks like here for a quartermaster on board Battleship Wisconsin. I just rolled out of my rack, and I literally to this day still roll out of bed. That hurts if you sit up in it, so I don't sit up in bed. I still roll out of bed. Reveille has just sounded, the lights have gone from red to white, and it's time to get started with our day. So the quartermasters that live in this space here, we all work together up in the pilot house, but at this time period we're going to start getting dressed and make our way to the head, the morning type stuff. After that, we pretty much make then our way down to the galley, have breakfast, and after that we go to work. So if you want to come with me real quick, we'll take a walk down to the galley, and I can talk about what it is that what we did down there and where we sat. So I've gotten my food either from the starboard or the port serving line, and this row of tables here, these three tables, is typically where you'll find the quartermasters eating their meals. Now there isn't assigned seating, so to speak, and you can of course eat with whomever you want to, but typically departments, divisions, usually just eat with each other in that regard. Again, we're just one big happy family, and in that family we have smaller communities. The navigation department is a much smaller community in Battleship Wisconsin, so we don't take up a lot of space. We pretty much name ourselves. Every once in a while we'll have a bosun mate join us for breakfast or for lunch, what have you. But this is pretty much where you'll find all of us eating. And then depending on where you are, either you're in the forward mess decks or the aft mess decks, you'll find machinist mates or boiler technicians. The Marines, they have separate areas where they like to eat. It's just really preferences to where everybody eats. So we finished breakfast. In this case, we're going to head aft, drop our stuff off at the scullery, and then we're going to head up to the pilot house for morning orders. So come on with me. So here we are in the pilot house. We're on the 04 level. This was, as a quartermaster is concerned, this is our workspace. We're responsible for everything up here, and we're here for quarters, of course. Quarters for muster, instruction, and inspection. So we've gotten up, we've ate breakfast, we came up here, we're now standing around waiting for quarters. Chief Larson is going to come in, and then the division officer is going to come in, and then the navigator is going to come in after officer's call, and they're just going to disseminate to us whatever is on the plan of the day that's important as far as being a sailor and being a sailor on board Battleship Wisconsin, and then what is important for us in navigation. Are we getting underway? If we're underway, are we pulling into port? Are we going to anchorage? Whatever is going to be most important to us as quartermasters or navigators on board the battleship. So after quarters has finished, we then go off to work. Work can be any number of different things depending on, again, where we are. If we're out at sea, there's housekeeping to be done, of course, every day, whether we're out at sea or in port. But if we're out at sea, there's a watch team who's going to be on watch. There is the upcoming watch who needs to get ready for the next watch. There are charts to be corrected. There's deck logs to be checked on and looked at, and we do all those different things up here, actually back here in the chart house. As far as housekeeping goes, we're responsible for cleaning and maintaining the decks. So we'll sweep every day, we'll wax when needed. There's a lot of brass here in the pilot house, so we shine the brass every day. That's the majority of what our work day consists of. It's either doing the charts in the chart house or working the brass, doing the bright work out here in the pilot house. Let's go into the chart house, and I can talk a little bit about charts that we have and what I was saying about maintaining them. So follow me. Here in the chart house is going to tell you what exactly we do with this room. We keep charts. When Battleship Wisconsin was last in service, charts were paper. They were on paper form. A chart is Now, I'm going to date myself, and some of you followers and viewers are going to be able to date yourselves as well here. You remember when you actually kept road maps in the glove box of your car? A chart is a road map for the open ocean. That's what they're called. So if you have a map in your car and you have a chart here on the Battleship Wisconsin. In these drawers, we keep all the charts. We have a chart for every place in the entire world. There is literally a chart for every place in the world that you can get to by boat, and we have all those in here. Part of our job in navigation is maintaining the paper charts. Today's world, everything's done electronically. I don't believe they use paper in any way. They might, I'm not sure. I haven't talked to any quartermasters who are active duty now. But in my day, it was all on paper. And there is pub number 1, which is nautical chart abbreviations and symbols. And every week we would get Notice to Mariners. There are 52 weeks in the year, and there would be Notice to Mariners number 1 the first week in January, and then the last week in December is Notice to Mariners number 52. They would have charts listed that had additions or corrections that needed to be done to the charts that we had on file. Now, that will cover the entire world, and like I said, we have charts for the entire world. We're not correcting every single chart. That would just be ridiculous, because if we're never going to use it, there's no need to correct it. But in the case that at some point in time we will need to use it, we will go to the latest Notice to Mariners and look and see all those corrections, and then go back and make all those needed corrections. As far as the corrections that we do to charts on a regular basis, there are the charts that the captain deems necessary. Homeport Norfolk, we're using all those charts on a regular basis, 12.245, 12.222, 12.221. Those charts are getting updated each week, and being here in Norfolk, there's a lot of changes all the time. Now, what exactly would be a change? Let's say in the middle of the night, a commercial fisherman hits a buoy and knocks it out of whack. If he moves it a few feet to one side or the other, or maybe breaks the light, the Notice to Mariners will have that in there, and then I'll need to go to that particular chart and I'll need to find that buoy, because it gives me latitude and longitude of that buoy. And if I need to move it, I'll use my whiteout and I will erase the buoy, and then I will move it, or I will make a notation, the light has been knocked over, or the light has been knocked out, or the gong on it is not working properly, what have you. The side of the chart will then have the Notice to Mariners notification number on it, and then next to that is going to be mine or the other quartermaster's signature, whoever made the correction. We do all that work, of course, with our navigator's case here. I have my pickers, and I have a latitude and longitude. I'm just going to pull the latitude and longitude off of the chart, and then I'm going to go and find wherever that piece is. If I don't know exactly what the symbol should be for whatever item, I can look it up in this book here in pub number 1. It gives me all the different symbols and abbreviations for anything and everything I can find on a chart at any given time. There's also a chart correction card that goes along with every single chart that we have. There's a catalog where all these things are kept, and along with keeping the record on the chart itself, we also make an annotation on the chart correction card. So that is, again, the bigger part of the day. Also from this spot, when we were underway heading towards the Persian Gulf, myself and QM3 Campbell, who was my assistant because I was the chart petty officer at the time, we laid out PIM, Plan of Intended Movement. We did that from this space here. We worked overnight. Once we got to the Rock of Gibraltar, let me back up a little bit. So Saddam Hussein invades Kuwait. A few days later, we are scheduled to leave for a Mediterranean cruise. And when we left Norfolk, we weren't sure exactly where we were going. It was either going to be through the Persian Gulf, or we were going to go to our Mediterranean cruise. They told us to go at flank speed across the Atlantic Ocean, and when we got to the Rock of Gibraltar, to let them know, and that we would get our orders from there. Once we got to the Rock of Gibraltar, they told us that we were heading to the Persian Gulf to take part in what was going to become, or I guess at that point in time, it was Operation Desert Shield. When the navigator came to us and told us that, he told us we were all going to the Persian Gulf, he then came to myself
and QM3 Campbell, who was my assistant, and he told us that we needed to write PIM. We were going to do PIM and send that to the Pentagon. Now, PIM, Plan of Intended Movement, that dates back to the accident that that fell upon the USS Indianapolis. Everybody knows the story of the Indianapolis. She was sunk out at sea, and she wasn't declared missing because there was no such thing as Plan of Intended Movement. Plan of Intended Movement just says that at this certain date, at this particular time, we have to be at this certain area, and we check in. And if we don't check in, then they start looking for us. So PIM, Plan of Intended Movement, normally comes from the Pentagon, comes down to us. In this case, I sent it up there. The only thing that I had to maintain was a 25-mile zone outside of Libya. Outside of that, I needed to get across the Mediterranean into the Suez Canal, and then into through the Straits of Hormuz and into the Arabian Gulf as quickly as possible. So I laid out PIM. I said at this certain time we're going to be here, be a course change or a speed change, what have you. Gave that to the Gator. The Gator sent it on off, and that's what we use for PIM. So I'm very proud of that fact. Something that I got to do. I don't know of any other quartermasters that actually got to lay out PIM like that. But again, it's a team effort. We all did it. We all worked together. If I wasn't working on a chart, one of the other quartermasters was helping us with that, and we all did it as a team. But that's what we pretty much do here in the chart house. The chart house is also where we store all the navigational equipment. What's important to know here at this point in time is that when people ask me what it is that I do as a quartermaster, I say that my job is in essence exactly the same as Christopher Columbus, but I can use electronic navigation as well. We did shoot stars using sextants, do the math, figure out where we were a half hour later than where we just were now. So I used sextants. We had GPS, but it wasn't relied upon it. We didn't believe that, or the powers that be, I should say, didn't think that it was as good as it really should have been, or that it wasn't really keeping track. So we used Loran Charlie. If you're familiar with that, it's a land-based navigation beacon. We used Omega, which is the precursor to GPS. And then we did have a GPS unit that hung here. You can see where it's been painted around, where that unit was removed from, but we did have GPS up here. And that was a backup to the backup to the backup. Loran Charlie, of course, was the predominant piece of equipment as long as we were within range. So the morning routine goes on. We do our thing. Then there's lunch. After lunch, we're back up here again, back into the daily routine. After the daily routine, we're in port. It's quitting time. They'll pass the word that Liberty has started. Typically, being navigators, if we've got all our work done, the Gator was pretty cool about letting us go a little early, so we'll hit the beach a little earlier than the rest of the guys here on board the ship. But then you don't have the duty. You can hit your rack, take a shower, hit the town, whatever you want to do. If you've got the duty, you're just kind of hanging out. You may be standing a quarterdeck watch, or you may be part of the fire party. You may have a drill later on that evening. The biggest thing that the duty quartermaster is going to do is sundown. So we'll go out here to the pilot house again, and I'll just tell you a little bit about what we do for morning and evening colors. Okay, so I've got the duty. I'm the duty quartermaster, and the biggest part of my day as far as duty quartermaster goes is observing sunrise, observing morning colors, and then in the evening observing evening colors and the sunset. And they both coincide at the same time. The very first thing that's going to happen during the day is going to be sunrise. So we need to observe sunrise. And what that means in port, or if we're at anchorage, is that we're turning the lights off that were turned on the night before at sunset. So when you're here in Norfolk, when you're in San Diego, wherever you may be, if you're near a Navy base, you will see before sunrise there are lights up, the friendship lights. They go from bow to stern, through the superstructure, and then around the sides on the handrails. There are the friendship lights. They're all white lights that are there, and it's just we're tied. We're moored to a pier, or we're at anchorage. and they're just on because we're not out at sea, so we don't have to do those lights. But we're here in port. I'm going to get up in the morning. If it's real early in the morning before Reveille, I'm going to come up here, turn off the lights, and I'll more than likely go back to bed until Reveille. If it's after Reveille, I've come up here, I turn off the lights, and I do my morning routine. I get breakfast, we'll have quarters, go to work, what have you. 8 o'clock rolls around, actually 7:55. 0755 in the morning is first call to colors. We do morning colors at 8 a.m. If you would have seen that Whiskey Wednesday virtual adventure that I did on the American flag on Flag Day, I talked a little bit about morning and evening colors. And so the 8 o'clock or 7:55, I pass the word over the 1MC on board Battleship Wisconsin. First call to colors. The deck personnel that are in charge of putting up the jack forward and the personnel that are in charge of putting up the American flag back aft will head in that direction, and they'll stand fast, ready for 0800 colors. I'm watching my clock. Time is very important in navigation, for navigation work, and also for morning and evening colors and observing sunrise and sunset. So I'm watching my clock. When I get to 0800, I'm going to pass the word over the 1MC. Morning colors. Depending on where we are in the world, it just might be a whistle blow, one whistle blow. And that's going to be attention to colors, or I may say attention to colors if I can't use a whistle blow. Or I will say attention to colors and then play the national anthem, depending again on where we are and what we're doing in the world. If I'm not playing the national anthem, I will call attention to colors, and then I'll do the national anthem in my head. And then when I am finished with the national anthem, I'll blow the whistle 3 times, and that means that colors is over, morning colors is over. And then we just go about our business. So the lights are off, the American flag is up in the back, the jack is up in the forward, and we go about our busy day. Evening rolls around. At sunset is when we bring down the flags, and we also observe sunset by turning on the lights. So the process is the exact same as morning colors, just that there's no national anthem to be played. At 5 minutes prior to sunset, I am going to say first call to colors, and then at sunset, I am going to blow attention to colors, and then colors is over, and then I walk around the corner, flip a light switch, and all the lights outside the ship come on. If we're out at sea, I'm not observing colors. We always have the American flag flying when we're out at sea. We're moving through the water, the American flag is always flying. At sunrise, we will turn off navigation lights, and at sunset, we will turn navigation lights on. And that again is just a switch that's around the corner here. So that's pretty much a day in the life. After that, I have got the duty. I don't have much of anything else to do. I may be in the chart house watching TV, reading a book. I might go to the gym and work out. You really can't tell based on how I look today, but that might be one of the things that I'd be doing. Any number of things. And then taps at 10 o'clock, I'll be in bed. Start my day over again tomorrow morning. That's pretty much a day in the life of a quartermaster on board Battleship Wisconsin. There's a lot of different things that we all share, memories and jobs and things that we do here on the battleship that we all share. Like in fire party, I was the plugman for the starboard fire plug. So that means turning on and turning off the water for the fire hose. That wasn't just specific to my job. There could be any number of rates here on the Navy, on the ship that do that. So there's lots of things that we do throughout the day that other jobs also take part in. But that's pretty much the nitty-gritty of what a quartermaster on board the battleship looks like. I want to thank you today for joining me on this Whiskey Wednesday virtual adventure. The pilot house is open on a guided tour, and I do suggest that you come visit us. Do take one or both of the guided tours. You'll see a lot of things that are not available to the general admission ticket, like the pilot house or the fire room number 1. Lots of stuff like that, captain's cabin, for instance. Lots of different things to see on those guided tours. So I do suggest that you take those. Come and visit us, ask questions. My team and I are always happy to answer any and all questions that anyone may have about the Navy. So thank you for joining me, and have a really good day.